Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 6 of our F1 2003 career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here for the second ever Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live towards the end of last week from Monaco, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. As always, Monaco, a rather interesting and weird race inside this series, but it did see our first non-Ferrari win of the year. David Coulthard now has leapfrogged his way up into third place overall in the World Championship, only 7 points behind myself. He has been very, very consistent so far this year, but a Ferrari disaster. We crashed out in qualifying. Schumacher had a mechanical failure in the GP. It still means our teammate is leading the World Championship by 11 points right now. But yeah, David Coulthard and Fernando Alonso have both been very, very consistent so far and are keeping us honest at the top of the table. Juan Pablo Montoya, Kimi Räikkönen, they both had terrible races as well last weekend. So there's a bit of a gap still in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari, a 63-point buffer still at the top of the table. Of course, I'm pretty certain still we are yet to win a Constructors inside this game. Of course, only the one Drivers' World Championship to our name as well. But of course, if you're new, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed. We're trying to hit 140,000 subs before F1 25 releases now in, what, just over a month's time? And also, if you want to help support us just a little bit more, you can click the join button for just £1 a month. You get early access to all the videos on the channel. That might actually grant you access to a lot of videos quite soon, because I'm going to have to start trying to get ahead on more stuff as I get ready to move house. A little bit of a fun one for you all as well. But yeah, without further ado then, let's head back to Baku. We won this race last season. Hopefully, we can do it again. Well, I must admit then, with these older, lighter cars, racing around Baku is a rather odd experience. To be completely honest, feels very, very different to kind of racing around here in kind of these modern heavy cars that we're used to now in the world of Formula 1. But I tell you what, yeah, McLaren, of course, this is probably the first real test all season of kind of a really high-speed venue. Most of where we've gone to have kind of been slower circuits. McLaren look fast here. Again, fastest through the speed trap so far this weekend. Obviously won that Monaco Grand Prix last weekend courtesy of DC. And maybe just bringing more and more upgrades to those cars that are really working nicely for them right now. As Schumacher, I mean, you never expect the German to be a million miles away either. But yeah, this car though feels very, very unsettled around this venue in a few places as well. Definitely not as easy on the throttle as that McLaren car is, as we try and do a bit of a hop over that curbing in towards the infamous castle section. No, that curbing on the inside can really catch you out, and we almost got kind of bounced into the outside wall there, but Räikkönen's still fastest at the moment. It is looking very, very tight right at the front of the order, but yeah, where these cars are so light, they really do kind of get thrown around off the curbing in quite a lot of places here, as down the hill in towards the final few turns. That one, of course, really, really difficult to navigate. And now, of course, through here, oh, we've made a real hash of that, getting all over the curbing. And that, again, is going to cost us speed and momentum all the way around towards the start-finish line here. Thread the needle through the final couple of corners. Schumacher now actually bounces back up to the top of the order. Will he be able to hang on then? Maybe got a really good run at that final turn against his rivals. Will it be Michael Schumacher up towards the flag? Yes, it will, as we end up 9th there, definitely lacking straight line speed. Well, clearly we have not got anywhere near as much straight line speed as a lot of other people here. Schumacher fastest, though, ahead of David Coulthard and Fernando Alonso. So my 3 title rivals are your top 3 at the end of qualifying there. Olivier Panis just ahead of Räikkönen, with both Renaults ahead of Anthony Davidson. Juan Pablo Montoya all the way down in 12th place as well, so a really disappointing run by him. Nick Heidfeld in his Minardi getting up into P16. Not normally that impressive, but for that car at the moment and that team, that'll be a huge result.
Good afternoon and welcome to Baku. This was the arena, if you think back to 2017, of one of the most eventful races of modern history, with controversy behind the safety car, last-second overtakes, and a historic podium for Williams and for Lance Stroll. So let's find out what lies in store for us this year. It's time for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. With 20 turns and a length of 3.7 miles, Baku City Circuit in the heart of the Azerbaijan capital is a real test of a driver's endurance, patience and precision. 90-degree corners through Sector 1 lead into a tightening uphill sprint as we start to circle around the old city. Then a 1.4-mile chase flat out through Sector 3 towards the finish line. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who's beside me in the commentary box today. We should talk about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Well, it is pretty much always the story inside this game. I struggle on a Saturday and normally do better, hopefully, on a Sunday afternoon. Of course, last year here we lacked pace in qualifying, but still made the strategy work to walk away with a victory. So hopefully we can do the same yet again as the sun shining here in Baku. Let's get ready on the grid. Hopefully we can try and get a good race start. It is 5 red lights here in Azerbaijan. And it's going to be lights out and away we go there. And it honestly looked like Anthony Davidson jumped that start. Raikkonen having to try and defend from both the Renaults in towards turn 1 there as we will lock up the rear axle ever so slightly there. Try and get back around the outside of Anthony Davidson. Oh, nice and easy in towards turn 2 there again, almost throwing it at the wall. I'm going to try and move the brake bias slightly forward there to stop the rears from locking up as badly. I think that's going to be an important change early on as I think Schumacher... Oh, we're going to get tagged from behind. Lucky not to get pushed into the back of Jensen Button there in towards the next turn. But Schumacher has bolted off the start, as I think that's Alonso then that has moved up into P2 just ahead of Raikkonen. So ahead of Goulthard even. So lots of battling going on early on here, and that has allowed our teammate, who of course won the opening 3 Grand Prix, hasn't won either of the last 2. Of course, his championship lead has been absolutely destroyed recently. But immediately getting back into a position he needs to this weekend. There is nice and easy over the curbing on lap 1. I think, yeah, we just went far too aggressive with the rear brake bias in qualifying. And that's ultimately what cost us a little bit of stability and overall performance. But yeah, say gaining 1 place then on this opening lap, and luckily already feeling a little bit more confident to try and attack the likes of Button and co. But again, it's going to be the straight line speed that I think is going to be a problem here. We could try and drop the front wing, obviously, when I pit slightly. I'm not sure I really want to as we try and carve our way through there. That's where we're strong. Able to take that final scheme easy flat there, as I think the Renault's struggling with top speed. Raikkonen immediately coming past Wirtz there, 209 miles an hour almost, as we bang off the limiter, 19,000 RPM. Sounds so good. Just try and brake later than JB in towards turn 1, and we're up into 7th. Oh, Wirtz a big wobble as we came out of the castle section. That'll bring us a little bit closer to the back of the Renault. So we're going to get a really badly timed run there. To the inside we go. In through the old town. Not exactly where I want to make moves, but I guess we've done it there. And luckily, he was fairly compliant in kind of accepting that the position was lost. But yeah, I was actually planning on trying to get a run on him back down the start-finish straight here, but that's not going to happen. In fact, if he gets a strong run through those final corners, he might be able to actually get the run back on me there. But luckily, yeah, that Renault, very good low-speed downforce, seems to struggle a little bit more at the high end. But he is going to carry the good run back down in towards turn 1. Will he be able to get back to me, though? He's gaining. Not quite close enough. Pretty certain this week we've actually got 2 back-to-back Baku races tomorrow. If I haven't messed up my scheduling, I'm pretty certain our F1 24 career mode comes back to this circuit. I've already recorded that video, just the weird way I'm having to try and get stuff done. It is a very good one. I'll give you guys that little hint right now. But it's kind of this one, I think F1 2021 felt like the last game that Baku was enjoyable until F1 24. So, yeah, this place really is good fun. And it might become kind of a mainstay in this series, kind of between now and the end of this career mode as well. But, yeah, it looks like our pace at the moment pretty good. We're actually running purple times through the middle sector, and hopefully now we're going to be a little bit closer on Raikkonen there, as I was actually going to talk about Olivier Panis doing a very good job in that Sauber car, able to kind of just stick in the traffic here. As Raikkonen, is he going to be able to get a move then on the Sauber back towards that first corner as we will set a new fastest lap of the day. That's exactly what we need to be doing more of. I think Schumacher definitely still with a few seconds margin at the front. But we've proven we've got the pace to keep up with him. Our tyre wear as well is also looking just a little bit better than I was originally expecting there. As we go Raikkonen that time around then. But immediately move past Panis as we make our way back in towards turn 1. It's a shame these old cars don't have an 8th gear, because I reckon we could probably see well in excess of 220 miles an hour around this venue. But yeah, obviously Sauber this season with the up-to-spec Ferrari power units. We've got yellows out. No idea who's got issues in this Grand Prix. I think it's a car behind us. Is that... Oh, it's Alexander Wurz then, who's going to be our first casualty of the day. And another Renault power unit goes bang. Oh, no. Damn it. Well, I guess the safety car kind of helps me there. But we got a 5-second penalty for that collision with Panis. So that's a little bit awkward. We're definitely going to box now at the end of this lap. Try and serve the pen. Get a new front wing on the wagon as well. But I think we might be able to take mediums right to the end. Schumacher's lead is going to be completely eradicated as well. So yeah, this, just like last season, really does create an interesting dynamic. Well, I assume we're going to see basically everybody into the pit lane then, as Schumacher's in, but nobody else is. Oh, dearie me, this is bad. Maybe Ferrari have pulled a blinder here, but yeah, Schumacher also into the pit lane then, but none of our other runners are opting to peel in. Where's that going to leave us? Down towards the rear of the field then in this Grand Prix, as the team have got nothing set up ready for me. Of course, we've got that penalty anyway, so that doesn't make too much difference. But by the time we're already lined up and everything else, it's going to take forever to get everything done on this car. Penalty should be served. So there we go. There we go. Fantastic. So the penalty's gone, but that was a 16.2 second pit stop. That is an absolute disaster here. And we are going to be back out in the Grand Prix then, all the way down in last place. For the second weekend in a row, both Ferrari cars trying to have to fight their way back through the order, but we know that the strategy will hopefully play into our hands here as we get ready to go green flag racing once again. This first lap is going to feel very, very frantic indeed. I've got to try and navigate all the back markers. Michael has got to try and navigate more of your midfield runners as well, but yeah, really unsure why nobody else has opted to try and dive into the pit lane there as well at the same time. Hopefully we'll time the run on Felipe Massa back in towards that first corner, which we will. But everybody else braking, understandably, far earlier than I was expecting them to. Ralf Schumacher there following Rubens Barrichello. Saw someone else locking up just in front. I think Heidfeld may be struggling. As Takuma Sato will get around the outside of him, but especially, you know, the Jaguars, Jordans and Minardis. We need to try and find a way through as quickly as we can there, as we're just trying to hold the car on the left-hand side and pray that we can get past them all, which we just about will. So immediately then getting past the worst of it. Where is Michael Schumacher though? I think he was running up about kind of P6, P7. I think I can see him there just up in front. I think he might be 7th place as Juan Pablo Montoya, a rough qualifying session, and does not seem to be carving his way back through the order right now. So we need to try and find a way around Giancarlo Fisichella as well then. Oh, just got to avoid the understeer. Oh, Fisichella not able to get the power down. Not getting any kind of drive off of that corner. Of course, we are on a completely fresh set of tyres there, so we'll give up on that one pretty quickly. As Jacques Villeneuve then, one of my other former foes, definitely not been much of a rival this season. Although that being said, of course, Toyota, a really, really good result in the last couple of races. Got their first ever points in Barcelona, and then almost backed a podium last weekend. As I expect Jacques to really struggle through this final chicane. He actually does quite a good job. But again, we've just got so much more straight line speed. Almost back into the points then immediately here. As you can see, I think Schumacher fighting around as well. With a few other cars just in front. But surely Montoya should be looking a little bit better. Sorry, it's actually the BARs there. Davidson and Baumgartner wheel to wheel. So Schumacher's already gone back past them. This is our real opportunity to try and get ahead of our teammate in this Grand Prix, or at least to be close to him. Ready for the second half of the race is surely JPM going to be able to get a run here. Wheel to wheel, they all go. Davidson, he's got no straight line speed. As we will try to the inside, try to the outside. They're around the outside of 1, 2, and maybe even 3. as that was pretty well positioned, kind of, you know, luck of the draw in the scenario. But both myself and Jarno Trulli gaining a lot of places because of it. Thank you very much. Well, at least now we've got eyes on Michael Schumacher in this race. No, we don't immediately. He will go past Olivier Panis then. So both Saubers looking still pretty competitive here. You know, they've definitely got the jump on the BARs and a few of the other cars. But, yeah, definitely not as quick as, say, a Renault, for example, around this circuit at the moment there. As, yeah, Panis and Jensen Button now struggling just a little bit more. So can we try and get a run on Jarno Trulli down in towards turn 3? I mean, again, those Saubers, obviously identical engines to our own. So they look pretty good. Oh, that's a big send to the inside. We'll get it slowed down, though. And I thought we were going to be in a wall there. But luckily, we just about avoid it. But it feels like every single overtake I make on someone, Schumacher will also find a way through. Of course, we're still enjoying much fresher tyres than anybody else up towards the front. I still would say we've probably got a bit of a pace advantage anyway over a lot of the other teams right now. As to the outside of Button, he's actually going to get a run on Panis instead, though, so we're all going to be chopping and changing. No, we're not. They're both going to peel into the pit lane. So does Alonso, so does Raikkonen as well. So that's going to leave David Coulthard out there at the front of the order. So we set another new personal best for the day, but it's actually DC now with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. But if neither Ferrari has to pit again, surely these guys aren't going to get back to us. Well, I assume, yep, there we go. David Coulthard into the pit lane as well. Then is the pace between myself and Michael looking pretty similar at this stage. Schumacher does a 43.2. We do a 43.5. So, yeah, he took about 2/10 out of us on that lap. Teams still want me to dive back into the pit lane, but I'm not going to do that unless we absolutely have to. I know if we get it hooked up, we can be quicker than Michael. It's just getting those laps hooked up. Well, with 10 laps to go then, I am ever so slightly concerned about the rear tyre wear. We should be able to get to the end. So Schumacher seems to be going slow. No idea why. We've always been losing time to him down this front straight, but this time round, we seem to have actually just taken a little bit out of him there as he's into the 42s. New fastest lap of the race then for ourselves there, and trying to apply the pressure to our teammate. But yeah, Coulthard, he's come back out. That gap floating kind of around 13, 14 seconds. Surely he can't go nearly a second and a half a lap faster. But it definitely seems like we are quicker than Michael through the old town. But then as soon as we get back round to this start-finish straight, I want to know whether he's been getting some favourable engines or anything like that down at Ferrari. So another mistake from our teammate through that final chicane. He doesn't do it every time, but when he does, it throws away a good few tenths of a second there, and we are now almost under a second behind. Coulthard, though, that gap's floating still at about kind of 14 seconds or so. So I think McLaren are confined to another P3, P4 finish here. They definitely have had the edge over Williams yet again. But the real question is, yeah, which Ferrari is going to come out on top today? We need to chalk up another win against Michael. Oh, Schumacher again makes another error through that final couple of corners there, and it's really, really starting to cost him now towards the end of the day. I don't know if it's just his hard compound tyres aren't providing with the grip he needs. Either way, I still had no problems coming through there, but now we are all over the back of our teammate. I mean, it's so difficult, especially in these cars where they're so light and they will kind of bounce around a little bit. You know, you cannot afford to make a mistake through there, otherwise it's going to be, you know, wheel ripped off instantly. But Schumacher here definitely seems more risk-averse than me right now. He's got a World Championship lead to maintain. I've got points I need to close in. Let's see if Michael does it again then. 5 laps to go here. I mean, if he keeps making that little error, it is definitely going to invite us in with an opportunity. Is that final corner? No, that time round. Of course, that time round, he gets it nailed perfectly. And we'll just start to pull away from us a little bit more again. We might be just a little bit too far back to kind of get the effects of the slipstream here. As Schumacher does a 42.6, new fastest lap of the day. That is going to be impressive to beat. Oh, again, another one. Another one! It seems like every time I want to talk about it, Schumacher gets on fine. And then every time I don't bring it up, Schumacher messes up that final chicane. But you can still see, despite being tucked up in the wheel tracks, we cannot get close enough. 42.5 new fastest lap of the day for us as we will drift our way through turn 1. I practically put no steering lock in then, but say getting to him is one thing, Trying to get around him is another. We are giving it everything right now. But if we can get past Michael, we're going to have to then defend like my life depends on it in these last few laps here. Half a second to make our way through the final chicane. And again, that time round, he does a good enough job. He stutters slightly on the exit, maybe just blended out of the throttle ever so slightly. You can see now we're starting to get the full effects of the slipstream as well. And he's not pulling away from us, backing towards turn 1. I mean, we are banging off the red line at 19,000 RPM. This V10 absolutely singing around the circuit, but it's still not enough. Well, I think with 1 lap to go then, unless Schumacher messes it up right now, I think he's just like going to have enough here. We can see how much we're struggling. Rear tyre wear warning light has flashed up as well as Schumacher again won't quite get a... Well, he won't get a good run, but he won't get a bad run either. At that final corner there, we are up to 62% on the rear. So I certainly feel like the strategy we've gone with today has been the right one. But Schumacher again, just how has he got that little bit extra straight line speed over myself there as down at turn 1. Another huge slide there. We've got 14 seconds in the back pocket to David Coulthard behind. We do not need to risk it anymore today. As there you go, that McLaren, they have had good pace there. As Raikkonen now, there's a 42.3 new best lap as well. But, you know, like I said, I thought McLaren, they were going to be the team to beat this weekend. But Schumacher, they're getting a really good lap 1. And Ferrari nailing the strategy as well. Open up the door for us, just a fight against each other late on in this one. But again, though, Schumacher feels like just has the edge on us right now. Of course, next weekend we're in Montreal, which of course was the venue he won his only race last season in a Ferrari car that was not as good as a lot of the others around him. So really, you know, kind of all the momentum seems to be on Schumacher's side right now. After a couple of disappointing races, he's been able to bounce back so well through these last couple there. But as we make our way through the old town, getting podiums here in Baku with everything that can happen is no easy feat in of itself. And especially with these old V10 cars, they really do kind of slide around, especially as the tyres fall off as well towards the end of a stint. Through the final proper corner, though, of the Grand Prix, Schumacher, after a couple of races away from the top step of the podium, he is going to return in style today. He again makes a little mistake through that final corner, but it's not going to be enough to let us get back to him there. Michael Schumacher wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Ferrari, we will get a second one too of the year.
Here we are then, it's victory in Azerbaijan. Great work from the whole team here at the track and back at the factory as well. And some pretty handy driving for good measure. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today and a stunning win for Ferrari.
Well, there we are then. The end of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher, pole position. Didn't quite bag fastest lap, but does take race victory as well there. Will once again extend his World Championship lead. From 9th on the grid, I think we can be pretty happy with the recovery we did. But of course, when you get so close to taking victory, it is always so disappointing there. McLaren in P3 and P4. Fernando Alonso in 5th ahead of Olivier Panis there as both Saubers get some good points on the board. Button in a Sauber sandwich. Montoya and Anthony Davidson rounding out your top 10 just ahead of Zolt Baumgartner and both of those Toyotas. Only Wirtz that failed to score this weekend. Failed to finish this weekend, I should say. As we take a look then at the Drivers' Championship, Schumacher now with an 18-point buffer yet again at the top there. David Coulthard still in 3rd ahead of Alonso, and then a long drop back to Montoya and Kimi Raikkonen as well. Panis now up into 8th ahead of Baumgartner, and you can see, yeah, Villeneuve still just outside that top 10 behind Anthony Davidson as Jenson Button. Always forget just how bad the start of the season has been for JB in that second Renault car. Reliability has really dogged the team. McLaren re-jump Williams as well, up into P2. Renault now 9 points clear of Sauber, but that battle between them, BAR and Toyota is certainly going to be one to watch throughout the course of the campaign. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready in Montreal.